welcome to Great British Ghosts. Later on, I'll be visiting the 900-year-old Ostrich Inn in Berkshire. But first of all, I've come here to the beautiful West Wickham Park, and I'm going to be heading underground to the notorious Hellfire Caves. West Wickham Park has been in the hands of the Dashwood family for centuries. The main house sits in thousands of acres of landscaped gardens, lakes and follies. But the estate is most famous for the infamous Hellfire Caves that were built under a hillside facing the house by Sir Francis Dashwood back in the 18th century. The caves played host to a secret aristocratic society called the Hellfire Club, made up of some of the most powerful men of the day, who were rumoured to have practised all manner of black magic and satanic worship up there. Not surprisingly, the caves are reported to be haunted. The estate's current owner, Sir Edward Dashwood, rarely gives interviews, but agreed to sit down and talk to me about his infamous ancestor and just what went on in the caves. So what actually happened in the Hellfire Club? What did they actually do?
Yeah, there's lots of rumours, and particularly in the 19th century, so 100 years after the event, all sorts of Victorians were horrified about what they thought they got up to and wrote lots of stories of blaming them for all sorts of nefarious deeds. They had great fun, there's no doubt about that, so I think there was an element of jocularity about most of our antics, but equally they did take things like religion and astrology very seriously. The room above the one we're sitting in has all the ceiling covered in Masonic symbols and architects' devices. So they were interested in all these elements of life above and below ground, and there's no doubt that I think they probably, I don't know, I mean, they had ladies there, they drank. We have the cellar books, so we know exactly who visited, we know how much they drank, and they drank quite a lot in those days. You couldn't drink water because it was impure, it made you ill. So they were very happy to use that as an excuse to drink lots and lots of wine.
I suppose then, if he was that sort of character, maybe he fueled the rumours and quite enjoyed doing that.
I don't know if he did, but he certainly had fun, but I think ever since, no one's ever wanted to dispel the rumours because, you know, they are quite fun. They give a bit of excitement to the area. We have lots of different sightings of people who think they've had paranormal experiences or they've seen ghosts and these sort of things. And they've all been quite pleasant experiences. They haven't been sort of terrified out of their life. One of the most amusing and recent ones was and I probably shouldn't be saying this on camera, but there was a lady about 20 years ago who went down the caves as a visitor, and she was a spinster, and she'd been frigid all her life and had no sexual experiences. And she said she was attacked by the evil spirit of my ancestor when she was down the caves, and came running out and was completely shell-shocked. And it turned her into a raving nymphomaniac, all because of this experience. Now, this was probably just a publicity stunt, I have no idea. But anyway, she got a minister in the area to denounce the caves and denounce the satanic influence of my ancestor at work. And this hit the front page of the local papers. And of course, no doubt, guess what happened? We had thousands and thousands of middle-aged ladies going down trying to rejuvenate their sex lives in the caves.
That's fantastic. So now I had their history, it was time to see these infamous caves for myself. And one of the guides, Lisa Sheeny, agreed to show me around.
Well, this is the first tunnel that leads off the entrance tunnel, and this is where most of the staff have heard footsteps on the gravel when they've been in the office in the evening getting ready to close up.
And are they like heavy footsteps?
Yeah, they're like, just, you know, they're an adult's footsteps, you know, that you can really hear them very, very clearly, and yet you know the caves are empty, you know there's nobody there. There's certainly an atmosphere in there. There's something in there that it's a presence of some form. I mean, I haven't personally seen anything, but I've certainly had lots of different experiences of odd things happening. Frequently you hear footsteps behind you, and certainly on the gravel you look around, there's nobody there. And you do try and work out some sort of logical reason for it and think, well, it's an echo, but at certain times you just know that's not the case, that there is something down there. So yeah, you do get certain days where you feel someone's watching you. If you're down there working, doing different things, you do sort of look over your shoulder quite frequently.
Have any other ghosts been seen in this bit?
Well, we're coming up to Paul Whitehead's cave here, and again, the little paranormal groups that come here, they have been saying that this area records a cooler temperature than anywhere else in the caves, and yet it's quite near the entrance, so it doesn't really make any logical sense that it would do that. So here we have our Paul Whitehead.
He doesn't look so well, does he?
Oh yes, bless him. Well, he's been here a long time.
Now, Paul Whitehead was the poet of the Hellfire Club and the chief steward, and his heart was taken out and was actually placed in an urn in a mausoleum on top of a hill. And the story goes, and I have no reason to disbelieve it, that it was removed by some Australian visitors about 100 years ago who broke into the mausoleum and actually stole his heart from the mausoleum. And ever since then, people have believed they have seen him either in the caves or walking around the hill, sort of, you know, holding on to where his heart should be, sort of looking for his heart. Now, believe that as you may, but people like to believe that they've seen Paul Whitehead, or seen his ghost at least.
Do we go further?
Yeah, we'll carry on around here. We're going around the circle now. And this sort of comes round on itself, and we come down to this next stretch.
These are amazing, these caves.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's just an amazing structure, really. So we come into this amazing cavern called the Banqueting Hall, and this is where all the partying really happened. It's just an amazing...
My word.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's
this
wonderful.
is absolutely amazing.
It's a 40-foot cavern. I mean, it's just an incredible space to have a party in. And these areas here, where the alcoves are, could be representing sort of the points of the compass, or there's so many different theories. But there was also the legend that they had curtains across here in the days of the Hellfire Club, and this is where the friars had their private devotions.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, it involved the lady visitors.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah.
But I had no idea it was going to be quite so big. So, I mean, this is dug out by hand.
Yes, I know, it's amazing, isn't it? Well, there are two main haunted characters. The first one is of Suki. She was Susan, who worked at the George and Dragon pub down in the West Wickham village. She was very attractive by all accounts, quite a flirt she was known as, and the local boys had all tried to get to know her a bit better, and she'd rebuffed them because she'd really wanted to find someone that was wealthy and take her away, whisk her away to this wonderful lifestyle. But where West Wickham Park is located, it was on the main coach route between London and Oxford. So a lot of wealthy people did come through and stop here en route through. So she got to know one chap and obviously took her eye, and she decided that was the man she was going to go after. The local boys got very, very jealous, and they decided to basically teach her a bit of a lesson, and they sent her a message to say that this chap had actually asked to meet her at the caves, but to come wearing a wedding dress, as they were going to run away together and live happily ever after. So poor Suki got dressed in this wedding dress, went up to the caves, and went through in the dark trying to find her beloved, and in the caves with a group of boys that were playing a trick, basically waiting for her to arrive. She got very frustrated and threw a hand of gravel at them, and they retaliated by throwing handfuls of gravel back, and unfortunately there was a rather large stone amongst them, and it hit her on the head and she died. This is where she was, she met the local lads and met her death. So she fell in this room, and this is where, again, screaming of help has been heard, and, the uncomfort of a feeling of someone that's obviously met a very tragic end. A terribly sad story. Okay, we're about halfway now, so we've got a bit more of a journey to go yet.
And this is obviously getting deeper all the time.
Yeah, because you're going downhill all the way. So we're going, eventually we're 300 feet from the top of the church. So it's quite a nice depth down again. Now we've got here, we're at the triangle, this is where we are. And this is where it splits again. And there's, again, theories of whether men went one way, women went the other. But this is where our Suki was seen recently, down at the bottom of the tunnel here. And it's just an interesting picture because you think, well, there's no light down here, so how on earth did that picture come about? But certainly the lady that was here that took the picture said that she saw the white dress disappearing around the corner, so she's
really
just walking the tunnels. So here we go. So now we're going out towards the final sort of tunnel now that leads through to the river Styx, and then we're going to cross into the underworld of the inner temple. So this is the river Styx, and this is the natural water level. This is where in the days of the Hellfire Club they would have had to cross with a boat. Obviously now we've got the bridge here to make it a lot easier. You don't get your feet wet, but yeah, in the days of the Hellfire Club that would have been part of the ritual to come through to the inner temple, which is where we're heading next.
So, as legend goes, we cross the river Styx, and we go into the underworld.
That's it. Yeah, this is the final part. This is the heart of the caves where the real sort of crux of the meetings happened. So this is where it all really went on.
Originally it was a river, so you had to cross the river to get to the famous inner temple, where all these so-called nefarious deeds happened. And there was a boat there, and there used to be probably a villager, I suppose. It was all a bit of a charade even in those days, but there was a villager there who would have taken you across, and you were meant to give him a shilling to take you across, just like Charon. Charon was the boatman in mythological times who took you across to the underworld. So my ancestor was trying to sort of recreate this idea of going down to the inner temple.
So this leads through to the inner sanctum.
This is it. This is where it all happened. This is where the meetings all took place. And although we're showing a party scene here, again, a lot of paranormal groups have said that they've had the feeling there's an altar in here, so it makes you wonder if the rituals and everything went on in this room. One that I love the most, my favourite story, and I can't find out exactly where it all came from, but it was a story that I heard that in 2001, when the water rose, this flooded. And when the water actually drained away and they came in to work out what needed to be repaired, the weird thing was a couple of the mannequins had fallen forward, and where they'd fallen forward, the hands had turned as if to save themselves as they'd fallen forward. That's creepy, isn't it? I love that
true?
story. Well, apparently it is. It's again all in the documents of the staff that have worked here.
I think it's a state of mind. They want them to be haunted in the first place, whether they are or not. And it has the right sort of atmosphere. You're underground, it has amazing acoustics. A lot went on there, so they're not just natural caves. They were dug by humans. There's lots and lots of history to them, lots of parties, lots of revelry. So all the ingredients are right for there to be a ghost down there. And I think people like to believe that, and if there is, there is, and if there's not, there's not. But I think it's exactly the right sort of place to find a ghost.
Well, the Hellfire Caves sound like they should be haunted, but add to that the image of a pretty young maiden who was murdered in her wedding dress, and stories of a secret society that did satanical rituals, all happening beneath a mausoleum with an urn of a human heart. Well, it's not really surprising that there's a lot of paranormal activity around here. This is the Ostrich Inn in Slough. It's extremely old, and it has a pretty grisly history of a landlord who disposed of his wealthier guests in quite a gruesome manner. Sounds like a scene from Sweeney Todd, and a place that certainly should be haunted.
The Ostrich is one of the oldest inns in England, dating back to 1500. But like much of Greater London, the modern world has grown up around it, and it now finds itself just half a mile from the end of Heathrow Airport's main runway. That certainly makes it a bit noisy, but no less packed with grisly history. Its most infamous landlords back in medieval times were a fellow called Jarman and his wife, who was said to have murdered no less than 60 guests as they slept in their beds.
At that time there is no bank, so everyone got keep their belongings with them, horses plus all the money. And when there is a travelers who used to come on his own without any families or relatives, there is a special room dedicated for him. And overnight, while he was asleep, he used to visit that room and to take all the belongings of this person. And basically he managed to kill them by a very strange and very, I would say, clever system, which is in a bed who could flip over underneath a trap, and was on the first floor, and the trap was opening to a boiling vase of water, and he boiled 67 people or 60 people like that.
Now, this model depicts Jarman's evil crimes. This is the bedroom that he would put his unsuspecting wealthy guests in. They'd be fast asleep in the bed. In the middle of the night, the bed would tip, the trapdoor would open, and the guest would slide into a vat of boiling water, resulting in a silent, quick, but very nasty death.
But it's not just the grisly goings-on of the Jarmans that haunt this place. The inn was situated on the popular London to Bath Road and found itself a favourite hangout of highwaymen and robbers. The manager, Philippe, agreed to show me some of the other places where ghosts have been seen.
As we go up, let me introduce you to our two main haunted area. Which first one is these stairs, Victorian ones, where is the residence of Mary, who basically is being recognized. She spent her time, most of the time, sitting and kind of checking the people going upstairs and visiting the rooms.
Now, Mary was Jarman's wife.
Yes, that's right.
And she was also hung.
That's right. She was hung with her husband, but funnily, she only stays here. There is some experience with the costumers in the ladies' toilet, usually the ladies, with the toilet rolls, with face behind the mirror, and most of them was as well here with a feeling of fresh air all the time here, even when it's very hot. And people just say, well, she's checking everyone who is going upstairs, basically.
So they don't see her, it's just
No, just a feeling, a very cold hair sometimes, or some says that there is a face behind them in the toilets, in the mirror.
I've had a couple of paranormal experiences in the ladies' toilets on the first floor. It's happened when I've run in there and not been thinking about it, and all of a sudden I feel like somebody's next to me and my hairs go up and my heart starts beating. I don't actually go in there anymore. I use my bathrooms in my bedroom because I don't. And a couple of customers have said they've also felt the same thing. Some of the girls who have worked here have had the same sort of experiences where taps have gone on and off. Toilet rolls roll past the toilet while they're on it with the door open because they're too scared to close it.
They describe her as Mary as a Victorian lady dressed up quite in the Victorian style, and she more or less spent all her time in the staircase, which are on the same ages than the building, so 15th centuries. Let me show you now the second area, which has been considered as the second most haunted area of the ostrich, which is in that room. It's our function room, dining room. As you can see with the timber and the wood panels and everything, it's apparently from the origin, so 500 years ago. And one part was very spooky, which funnily was last our Halloween parties where we took pictures, very odd, with spirits and everything. When I talked to you earlier about the candles, those are the candles all around the place where we have to check two times if they are blown off, basically because they will restart again.
So you blow the candle out,
yes.
You go away, you come back, it's lit again?
It's likely it will be lit again.
And does that happen often?
Well, it happens me 2 times, but you even don't notice, it's a part of the ghost thing. And with the other stuff, it apparently happens quite often.
We've had an experience upstairs in the function room one night when myself and Jodie were blowing the candles out. I left Jodie on the bar and I went back downstairs, come up, and the candles were all lit again in the room. And I thought she'd relit them, but she said she hadn't.
A few times if the manager's been off and I've been in charge for the day, some odd things do happen, like we either have power cuts or the power trips out and things happen on the bar that I couldn't really deal with. And I'm not sure if that's possibly the ghost showing that they're here or doing something in that way.
What would this room have been used for historically? Would it have been a meeting room?
No, it's been thought that it's the rooms, so basically where the previous landlord and Mr. Jarman used to welcome any other guest, so it was split in different rooms everywhere across the building.
So would one of those rooms have been the infamous room where Jarman did his evil deeds?
Not that one. He's further back in our rooms, which is in the corridor.
It can be quite daunting when you're by yourself, so I look up at night as well. So you do worry if you do see something. If I saw anything, I probably wouldn't come back to work. I'd be really scared.
So this is the famous room when everything happens.
But it's clearly not a bedroom anymore.
No, this is now a storeroom, as no one wants to stay anymore in this room.
But this would have been where the trapdoor and the bed and everything was.
Yeah. I think, in fact, you could have over there. So this is the trap. You could imagine that there is the trap over there with the bed oriented on that way, and with the trap open to the kitchen, where German used to tip over all the bodies, and after buried in the river.
Sometimes when you're up there, it feels like there could be someone there with you. I do tend to run around if I'm up there working by myself and try to escape as soon as possible.
When I've gone in there thinking that I want to see whatever it was, it doesn't happen. It's only when I go in there not thinking about it, something would happen.
Well, let me tell you, don't ever think of making this into a bedroom for guests.
We will think about that. We will think. If I invite you, why not? We can have a spooky experiences. I think you could have some spooky experience still going on in this place.
Philippe, I have stayed in a lot of haunted bedrooms for this series, but let me tell you, if you make this into a bedroom, I'm not staying in it. I think it's such a horrible story. In fact, let's get out of here.
It's kind of very frightening. Sometimes my staff, when they live in upstairs, they won't go downstairs at any time overnight until there is the daylight, because there is some things that you can feel overnight, some cold areas, or the blow or the noise, and yeah, it's quite frightening sometimes.
Well, the ostrich now has a really nice feel to it. It's incredible to think that it hides such an evil history. Out of all the stories we've heard that have produced ghosts, this one really has to be the nastiest. See you next time. Bye-bye.